Hunter Biden admitted to a federal judge that he received more than $600,000 from a CCP-backed company. This contradicts what President Biden said during the last 2020 election debate. Watch.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had, the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Yeah, then Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe was the first person to tell us on this program, that the Hunter Biden laptop was not Russian disinformation. He joined me back in October 2020, just weeks before the election. Here's what he said.
This is not part of some Russian disinformation campaign. The intelligence community has not been involved with Hunter Biden's laptop. Hunter Biden is a U.S. person, and he would be subject to any investigation regarding fraud or corruption would be rightfully the jurisdiction of the FBI. So the FBI has had possession of this.
And joining me right now is the man himself, former Director of National Intelligence, former Texas Congressman John Ratcliffe, back with us. John, it's great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
You as well, Maria. You bet.
Well, you were the truth teller back there in October of 2020. But, of course, we know that later that day, on that same week, 51 former intelligence officials signed their letter on the dotted line saying that the Biden laptop must be Russian disinformation. And the media completely ignored the actual sitting Director of National Intelligence, yourself, who said the opposite. Pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, unfortunately, Maria, we watched a political interference campaign, a domestic disinformation campaign by, former intelligence officials working with the media, working with big tech to suppress the truth and to amplify the lies shortly before a presidential election. And, unfortunately now we've seen all of these, the impact that likely had on the outcome of the 2020 election, and now we see more of that. I mean, what the events that have happened this week with Hunter Biden and the developments with regard to his case, I'm not sure what is more significant, the legal consequences of this or the political consequences of this, because it's the most politically corrupt case that I've ever seen as a former federal prosecutor, and you've now seen this play out this week, and the American people are finding out more and more about that.
Yeah, and look, we continue to see this effort to change the conversation. I mean, I've got to get your take on this new superseding indictment against President Trump, just a day after we saw drama unfold in a Delaware courtroom over the crimes that Hunter Biden apparently has committed. Your reaction?
Well, first, let's start with the Hunter Biden deal. I call it the most politically corrupt case I've ever seen. Look, what you saw play out this week, Maria, is that Joe Biden's DOJ prosecutors turned out to be Hunter Biden's defense team. The lawyers that are supposed to be on opposite sides were on the same side. The lawyers in that case all worked together to hide a blanket immunity agreement to protect Hunter Biden from the judge, and they got caught, and you saw that play out, and that's why this plea agreement, fell apart, and it was just absolutely stunning, and what the political consequences of this playing out. You talked about it a little bit with your prior guest there, Congresswoman Bice. Look, The Biden White House desperately wanted this plea agreement to go through. They wanted to be able to say, look, this was just a misdemeanor and now it's time to move on. And instead, this case has been delayed, and in between, House Republicans are going to be able to conduct additional investigations. And you're one witness away from someone putting Joe Biden squarely in the middle of Hunter Biden's corrupt business dealings. It could happen as early as next week with Devin Archer. Look, if the reports are true and he comes in and says, as is being reported, that the guy who said he didn't know anything about Hunter's business dealings, didn't even know Hunter was on the board of Burisma, says, I witnessed a phone call where Hunter said to Joe, the bigwigs at Burisma need our support, and 5 weeks later, Joe Biden gave that support by using $1 billion leverage to demand the firing of the prosecutor for Burisma. we're going to be smack dab in the middle of an impeachment inquiry in the House. And so, you know, obviously those consequences are just extraordinary.
So before we get to Trump, I've got to get your take on what has taken place, we're told, over a decade or more with the Biden family. Congresswoman Nancy Mace was with me earlier on the show, and she revealed just how much she thinks the family has actually taken in from foreigners due to this influence peddling scheme. Watch what Nancy Mace said. Watch.
Based on the evidence I've seen so far, I think the number is going to be north of $50 million that we're talking about here. This will go down as one of the most politically corrupt presidents and families in U.S. history. And we've got to show and prove it to the American people. We've got to show them everything that we have.
John, this is just extraordinary. The House Oversight Committee has shown us bank records and, of course, witness testimony that has proven that this family has taken in money. Yesterday, Hunter Biden told the judge that he's taken in $600,000. We don't know how much money it is. It could be much more than that. But where do you think this goes now?
Well, you know, you played the clip where, you know, Joe Biden has said, no one from my family has made any money on China. And now Hunter Biden said in court this week to the judge in response to questions that he had earned income from the CCP, you know, CEFC deal. Now, so the question is did Joe Biden receive any of that money? And if the paper trail documents that, Hunter Biden's not the only one that will be guilty of tax evasion. It would be President Biden as well. And I think House Republicans are aware of that. And that's why they are, you know, actively pursuing this with you know, such aggression. I do think it's very unfortunate that it's House Republicans, and but for House Republicans, that we wouldn't know about this. This is the job of the Department of Justice and the FBI. And we've seen now that they have worked so hard to shut this down. And so, what the House Republicans have done is extraordinary. But it's unfortunate that they're the ones having to reveal this to the American people. On the Trump superseding indictment, my takeaway from that, Maria, I told you a long time ago, this case isn't going to go to trial before the 2024 election because of the implications of the Classified Information Protection Act that basically require there to be a trial before a trial on the issue of classified information. By Jack Smith adding a defendant yesterday through the superseding indictment, that only slows that process down. That only makes me more convinced that there's no way this gets to trial before 2024. It also tells me that Jack Smith's case isn't as strong as has been represented, because he knows he's slowing the case down, but he's adding a defendant because he apparently thinks he needs this maintenance worker and the testimony, you know, from that to try and gain a conviction.
Wow. Yeah, that's such great analysis, John. Thank you for that. Real quick before you go, got to ask you about these 3 UFO whistleblowers. They testified before the House Oversight Committee this week. Here's a bit of that. Watch.
Did you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes. Personally.
Have anyone been murdered that you would that you know of or have heard of, I guess?
I have to be careful asking that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities.
Do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
John, you and I have spoken about this in the past. This is pretty extraordinary stuff. Unidentified flying objects have been seen. Biologics have shown non-human body parts, and people may have been murdered because they tried to hide this. What can you tell us as the former director of national intelligence?
Well, Maria, you and I had a conversation more than 2 years ago about this as I left my position as the director of national intelligence. And I said, look, the government has more information than it's sharing. And that was, you know, I thought that a report that was going to come out after I left would would have more transparency, which was needed. Unfortunately, the Biden administration made the decision to really not reveal much, and now you end up with House Republicans having to have these public hearings to talk about more of this information. I will say this, I believe there should be more transparency on this issue. But not full transparency. I mean, the primary role of the federal government is to provide for the common defense. And, we don't share all national security information with the American people. But the government should have done a better job of putting out some of the things that you and I talked about, that I said, look, there are things that we can't explain, and that there are more sightings than are being reported. And, had the government managed this a little bit better, it wouldn't be as controversial.
Do we know where these UFOs are coming from?
Well, like I said, there's a lot of things that are unexplained. I mean, Maria, I've gone to the edge of, talking about information that's classified. I can't go over that line. This current administration would love nothing more than for me to trip over a classified information line. I just think that we could have put more information out to talk about all of that. The fact of the matter is, some of the technologies that have been talked about and explained are beyond our capabilities, and we believe our adversaries, China and Russia.
Wow. John, you're a gem for America. Thanks very much.